Welcome back to Oshkosh today. Now we are joined by our final guest of the show. Here we have Mike Hurt and George Gillis here to tell us all about the upcoming Memorial Day procession. We're really looking forward to it, and I thought maybe you could start off, George, by telling us a little bit about Memorial Day itself and, you know, what it means.
It's an honor and a pleasure to be here.
Yes, it's always an honor to have you guys, too.
In remembrance of tribute to our nation's finest and bravest. There's always a conversation that picks up in our schools, our workplaces, and our communities prior to our military and veteran-centered holidays, such as Memorial Day. People ask, how can we best honor and remember our nation's veterans and those who have fallen in service to our country?
Mm-hmm.
Almost 150 years ago, President Abraham Lincoln stood before a war-weary nation and uttered the most famous words ever said about veterans. Lincoln spoke of the sacred obligation to our nation, care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan. These words are inscribed in the entrance above the Department of Veterans Affairs in our nation's capital and spoken almost every Memorial Day or Veterans Day. But we know that honoring our veterans with words alone falls terribly short if we do not bring these words to life by honoring them equally with deeds worthy of their sacrifice. When we walk away from this place in a few hours, when the weekend is over and the flags come down off the lampposts, we need to ask ourselves, what more can we do to honor the legacy? How can we give them something more than a ceremony and a moment's gratitude? For some, particularly our Vietnam era veterans, honor and respect for their deeds may be all that they ask. And so public ceremonies providing recognition of their service is essential. But we have both power and obligation to do more for our veterans and for their families and survivors. On this solemn day, we must recommit ourselves to standing up for veterans. We must never stop fighting for veterans. They never stopped fighting for us, sacrificing for us, and so many gave us their last dying breath for us. Mm-hmm. It is up to us now to honor those who are still with us and the survivors of those who have passed by fulfilling the nation's promise to our protectors, our military veterans. When we can and should talk about heroism and sacrifice, if you flip through our nation's history books, you will be inundated with accounts of bravery that still resonate deep within us decades later. Mm-hmm. We are humbled by the tremendous courage shown by our brave soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guard throughout our history. There is no doubt that our veterans have paved the way for our military's reputation and the finest fighting force in the world, both in strength and in character. That's why it's important, and in fact imperative, that we always remember them.
Very well said. And I asked you to bring that back today because it's a great background for what Memorial Day really is and what it's really about. It's not a day off to go grill out and have a picnic.
That's correct.
You can definitely do some of that on that day if you'd like, but it's very important that we're remembering our veterans and honoring them.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point because there's a real difference because, the 4th of July is a parade, mm-hmm. but Memorial Day is a procession. And so one of the things with the hallmarks that you'll see, like with the 4th of July parade, you're going to see, clowns and floats and all sorts of entertainment. You'll see, political figures out there, giving out Packer Badger schedules and so forth. But the Memorial Day procession is just, it's a very dignified, and quite frankly, it's a funeral procession, so it really has a different take to it.
It's much more solemn.
Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I think they did bring up the graphic for the route of where the parade will be.
Right.
It's the usual route. It's going to be at 9 a.m. Monday, May 25th.
Yep.
Mike, you and I will be there.
Yep.
We'll be watching it, and we'll be covering it for Channel 2, so those of you who are unable to make it out to the parade are able to watch it online or on TV on CATV2.
Absolutely. Some other things just kind of throw in for that day is 7 o'clock in the morning at South Park will be the reading of the names on the wall. That'll be happening. And then 8 o'clock at Riverside, there will be a ceremony as well for those lost at sea. And then 9 o'clock we'll start the procession itself, and it's literally one of the oldest processions in the state of Wisconsin.
It is.
And one thing I'd like to cover a little bit is the procession, a little bit of what's happening. But, the procession itself, you'll have all the various groups, DAV, American Legion. We have some great groups in the area, VFW, the Red Arrow, so forth, Military Order, the Purple Heart will be there. You'll also see some of the local bands, junior high, high school, playing the Navy's Anchor Away and Marine Corps Hymn and so forth. This year is very different because what you're going to have happen is you will actually have, as of this taping, we will have 3 unclaimed veteran remains, veteran ashes, that will be buried in Riverside Cemetery.
Yes.
So what'll occur, you'll see the traditional, what we've seen in the past, but then when it hits to the front of the cemetery, a hearse will actually come in, and the remains will be on there. You'll have a funeral dirge that will occur. You'll have the 1157th, 1158th Transportation Company will be acting as honorary pallbearers. The Marine Corps League will be, they will have a color guard there as well as a rifle team. I know Ralph Beck, a great guy in the veteran community, he'll be the chaplain there as well. And if we have the time, what I'd like to be able to share is that actually what had occurred is there's the Legion.
And Mike, I hate to interrupt you. We are actually just about out of time.
Okay.
So if you want to really briefly
Right,
give us
what
a
I'll
little...
say is the American Legion initiated a program called Missing in Action, and they actually are encouraging veteran volunteers to connect with funeral homes in the area.
Okay.
And some great people, a VFW team actually spearheaded things, and that's where we got the 3 remains. So I guess I'm looking out toward the viewers. We don't leave anybody behind, and we don't leave anybody behind in our backyard. And so I really encourage you to be a part of what will be happening on Memorial Day, because it's the right thing.
And there's a lot to do on Memorial Day, starting very early in the morning, like you said. So we hope to see everybody out on Memorial Day,
Absolutely.
not only at 9 a.m. for the procession, but before that for the activities, as well as after for that very special ceremony that will be taking place. So I'd like to thank you both so much for coming in. I wish we had more time to talk about it,
absolutely.
but we're going to have to get together after
Well,
the
thank you for
procession.
inviting us.
Yes, thank you very much.